Lisa Morgan walked slowly across the big campus. Her heavy boots made soft sounds on the stone paths. Students ran past her, laughing and talking loudly. They carried bright backpacks and wore colorful clothes. Lisa carried only one old green bag on her shoulder. She was 24 years old, but felt much older. For the past 6 years, she had been far away from Earth. She had been fighting in space wars that most people on Earth never heard about. Now she was back to go to school like a normal person. The university was huge. Tall buildings reached toward the sky. Green grass covered the ground between the paths. Trees grew everywhere, and flowers bloomed in careful rows. Lisa had not seen so many living things in one place for a long time. In space, everything was metal and glass and empty darkness. A group of students sat under a big tree. They were eating lunch and talking about a party that weekend. One girl complained about having too much homework. A boy threw a small ball at his friend and missed. They all laughed when the ball hit another student who was walking by. Lisa stopped and watched them. They looked so young and happy. They had no idea that people their age were dying in space battles every day. They did not know that alien ships were trying to reach Earth right now. They lived in a safe bubble where the biggest worry was a math test or a broken heart. She found her dorm room on the 3rd floor of Miller Hall. The door was already open. Inside, a girl with long blonde hair was putting posters on the wall. The posters showed cartoon animals and movie stars. Pink and purple blankets covered one of the beds. "Hi, you must be Lisa," the girl said with a big smile. "I'm Katie Barnes. I'm so excited to have a roommate. I was worried I would get someone boring, but you look really interesting." Lisa put her bag on the empty bed. "Nice to meet you, Katie." Katie talked while she unpacked. She came from a small town in Ohio. She had never been on an airplane before coming to college. She wanted to study art and maybe become a teacher. She asked Lisa lots of questions about where she came from and what she did before college. "I was in the military," Lisa said. She did not want to explain more. "Oh, wow, that's so cool," Katie said. "Like, did you get to travel to different places?" "My cousin was in the army, and he got to go to Germany. He said the food there was really weird, but the people were nice." Lisa nodded but did not answer. She had traveled to places that Katie could not imagine. She had seen alien worlds and fought battles in the cold darkness between stars. But she could not talk about any of it. The next morning, Lisa went to her first class. It was called Introduction to Space Engineering. The classroom was big with white walls and bright lights. About 30 students sat in rows of desks. Most of them looked very young. Professor Alan Hayes stood at the front of the room. He had gray hair and wore a blue shirt with a tie. He looked smart but soft, like someone who had spent his whole life reading books instead of doing dangerous things. "Welcome to Space Engineering," he said. "In this class, we will learn about the basic science of traveling between planets and stars. We will study how rockets work and why it is so hard to go faster than light." Lisa listened as he talked about theories and equations. He explained why scientists thought it was impossible to travel faster than light speed. He drew pictures on the board, showing how spaceships could never go beyond certain speeds. Lisa had to bite her tongue to stay quiet. She had been on ships that went much faster than what the professor said was possible. She had seen human technology that broke all the rules he was teaching. But she could not say anything. The military had told her never to talk about the secret technology they used in the war. A student raised her hand. "Professor Hayes, do you think we will ever really travel to other star systems?" "That is a good question, Amy," the professor said. "Maybe someday we will find new physics that let us go faster. But with what we know now, it would take hundreds of years to reach even the closest star." Lisa thought about the star system where she had fought her last battle. She had been there just 6 months ago. The trip from Earth took only 3 weeks. In a military ship. But she sat quietly and pretended to take notes. After class, some students stayed to talk with each other. They discussed their weekend plans and complained about other classes. Lisa walked past them toward the door. "Hey, you're Lisa, right?" a boy said. His name was Jake Miller. He had brown hair and friendly eyes. "Want to study together sometime? This class looks pretty hard." "Sure," Lisa said. She was trying to be normal and make friends. "Great, there's a coffee shop on campus where a bunch of us meet. You should come." Lisa nodded and left the building. Outside, she saw students playing games on the grass. Some threw a round disc back and forth. Others kicked a ball around. Everyone seemed so carefree and happy. She walked to her next class, which was about politics and government. The professor was a woman named Nancy Ford. She was younger than Professor Hayes and had short, dark hair. She wore a red dress and spoke in a loud, clear voice. "Today we will talk about current events," Professor Ford said. "Can anyone tell me what is happening in the news right now?" A student raised his hand. "There's that war thing going on in space, but I don't really understand it." "Good point, Ryan," the professor said. "The government says we are fighting aliens, but we don't get much information about it. What do you think about this conflict?" Ryan Cooper was tall with black hair. He wore a shirt with words about peace written on it. "I think war is always wrong," he said. "There has to be a better way to solve problems. Maybe we should try talking to these aliens instead of fighting them." Other students nodded and agreed. They talked about how violence never solved anything. They said the government was probably lying about the aliens being dangerous. Maybe the aliens just wanted to be friends and humans were the ones being mean. Lisa gripped her pen so hard it almost broke. She wanted to tell them about the colonies she had seen destroyed. She wanted to explain about the alien messages that said humans must surrender or die. She wanted to show them pictures of the cities turned to glass and the people who never came home, but she stayed quiet. She pretended to listen and take notes. Inside, she felt like she was drowning in a world that did not understand anything real. When class ended, Lisa walked back to her dorm room. Katie was there with two other girls, painting their fingernails bright colors. They were talking about boys and movies and what to wear to a party. "Lisa, come join us," Katie said. "We're doing makeovers." "I have to study," Lisa said. She sat at her desk and opened her books, but she could not focus on the words. She kept thinking about her friends, who were still fighting in space. She wondered if Commander Nick Davis was still alive. She thought about the young pilots who looked up to her and trusted her to keep them safe. Here on Earth, in this safe, comfortable place, it felt like that other world did not exist. It felt like the war was just a story someone made up. But Lisa knew better. She knew that people were dying right now to keep this campus safe and peaceful. She closed her books and looked out the window. Students walked by, laughing and holding hands. They had no idea how lucky they were. They had no idea what it cost to keep them safe. Lisa had come back to Earth to learn new things and become a better officer. But she was starting to wonder if she would ever fit into this world of homework and parties and normal problems. She felt like a ghost, invisible and unable to touch anything real. She missed the simple honesty of space combat. Out there, everyone knew what they were fighting for. Here, no one seemed to know there was a war at all. 3 months passed since Lisa started college. She got perfect grades on every test and assignment. Her professors liked her work and often asked her to stay after class to talk about advanced topics. But Lisa felt more alone every day. In her engineering classes, she understood things that confused other students. When Professor Hayes talked about navigation in space, Lisa knew exactly how it worked. She had done it herself many times. When he explained how spaceships handle gravity and momentum, Lisa remembered flying through asteroid fields while enemy ships shot at her, but she could not tell anyone why she knew these things so well. She had to pretend she was learning it, all for the first time. She nodded and took notes like everyone else. Even though she could teach the class better than the professor, her classmates were smart and worked hard. They spent hours in the library reading about theories and equations. They argued about whether certain things were possible or not. Lisa listened to their debates and wanted to laugh or cry. They were discussing things she had done hundreds of times in real life. One day in study group, Jake Miller was struggling with a problem about fuel efficiency in space travel. He had been working on it for 2 hours and was getting frustrated. "This is impossible," he said. "The math doesn't work. You can't carry enough fuel to go this far and still have room for cargo." Lisa looked at his paper. She knew the answer immediately. Military ships used a different kind of fuel system that was much more efficient, but she could not explain that. "Maybe try this approach," she said carefully. She showed him a way to solve the problem that came close to the real answer without revealing classified information. Jake was amazed. "How did you think of that? That's brilliant." Lisa just shrugged. "Lucky guess." The hardest part was watching the news with other students. Every few weeks, there would be reports about the war in space. The reports were short and did not give much detail. They just said that human forces were fighting alien invaders somewhere far away. The students would gather in the common room to watch these news reports. They treated it like entertainment. Some of them wore t-shirts that said, "Support our troops," but they did not really understand what that meant. "I wonder what it's like out there," Katie said one evening while they watched a report about a battle near Jupiter. "Probably boring," said Ryan Cooper. "Just a bunch of people sitting in metal boxes shooting at each other. I bet most of the danger is made up to make it seem more exciting." Lisa had to leave the room. She went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face. She thought about her friend Captain Tony Martinez, who died when his ship exploded trying to protect a medical transport. She thought about Lieutenant Sarah Kim, who was 20 years old when alien weapons tore her ship apart. Boring. Ryan thought war was boring. In her political science class, Professor Ford assigned a project about military spending. Students had to research how much money the government spent on weapons and spaceships. Most of them thought it was too much. "We could build 100 schools with the money they spend on one battleship," said Amy Rodriguez during a class discussion. "Or hospitals," added another student. "Think about how many people we could help instead of building things that destroy." Lisa wanted to explain that those expensive battleships were the only reason they were alive to complain about them. She wanted to tell them about the alien fleets that were trying to reach Earth right then. But she stayed quiet and pretended to agree. The worst part was when students organized protests against the war. They made signs that said, "Peace not war," and "Bring our soldiers home." They marched around campus chanting slogans about love and understanding. Katie asked Lisa to join them. "Come on, it will be fun. We're going to make the government listen to us." "I have to study," Lisa said. "You always have to study. Don't you care about ending this stupid war?" Lisa cared more than Katie could imagine. But she knew things Katie did not know. She knew that bringing the soldiers home would mean letting alien ships reach Earth. She knew that peace was not always possible when the other side wanted to kill everyone you cared about. During one protest, Lisa watched from her dorm window. Students carried colorful signs and sang songs about peace. They looked so young and hopeful. They really believed that if they just asked nicely, the fighting would stop. Ryan Cooper stood on a small stage with a microphone. "This war is wrong," he shouted. "Violence never solves anything. We need to try diplomacy and understanding." The crowd cheered and clapped. Lisa closed her curtains and tried to do homework, but she could still hear them chanting outside. That night, she called her old commander using a secure military phone. Commander Helen Price had been Lisa's superior officer during the worst battles of the war. "How are you holding up, Morgan?" Commander Price asked. "It's hard," Lisa admitted. "These people have no idea what's really happening out there. They think we're the bad guys." "That's the point," Commander Price said. "We're fighting so they can stay innocent." "Would you rather they knew the truth about how close the aliens came to reaching Earth?" Lisa thought about that. Maybe it was better that students like Katie could worry about art projects instead of alien invasion fleets. Maybe it was good that Ryan could believe in peace and love instead of knowing about the colonies that had been completely destroyed. But it was lonely being the only one who knew the truth. Her grades stayed perfect, but her social life got worse. She made excuses to avoid parties and group activities. She spent more time alone, reading or walking around campus late at night when it was quiet. Sometimes other students tried to include her. Jake Miller invited her to join his study group's pizza parties. Caddy wanted her to come to movie nights in the dorm. Amy Rodriguez asked her to help with a charity fundraiser for war orphans. Lisa wanted to say yes, but she felt like she was acting in a play. She had to pretend to be someone she was not. She had to hide the most important parts of her life and experience. One evening, Katie found Lisa sitting alone in their room, staring out the window. "Are you okay?" Katie asked. "You seem sad all the time." Lisa looked at her roommate. Katie was so sweet and caring. She really wanted to help. But how could Lisa explain that she was sad because she knew things that would terrify Katie? How could she say that she missed the simple honesty of combat, where everyone knew exactly what they were fighting for? "I'm fine," Lisa said. "Just tired." Katie sat on her bed and hugged a stuffed animal. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right? I mean, I know I'm not very smart about serious stuff, but I'm a good listener." Lisa almost told her everything right then. She wanted to explain about the battles and the friends she had lost, and the terrible responsibility she had carried. She wanted Katie to understand why she sometimes woke up at night thinking she heard alien weapons firing, but she could not do it. Katie was happy and innocent. She deserved to stay that way. "Thanks," Lisa said. "I appreciate it." As the semester continued, Lisa felt the gap between her and her classmates growing wider. They lived in a world of tests and parties and teenage drama. She lived in a world of life and death decisions and classified secrets and survivor's guilt. She began to wonder if coming back to school had been a mistake. Maybe she should have gone straight back to active duty. At least there, everyone understood what they were dealing with. At least there, she did not have to pretend to be someone else. The trouble started on a cold Tuesday morning in Professor Ford's political science class. She had assigned everyone to give a presentation about solving world problems. Each student had to pick a current issue and suggest better ways to handle it. Lisa sat in the back row, as usual. She watched her classmates present their ideas. Most of them were about helping poor people or protecting the environment. The presentations were nice but simple. These students had good hearts but no real experience with serious problems. Amy Rodriguez went first. She talked about ending hunger in poor countries. She suggested sending more food and building more farms. It was a good idea, but Amy had never seen what happened when supply ships got attacked by pirates or when alien raids destroyed entire farming planets. Miller presented about stopping crime in big cities. He wanted more education and job programs. Lisa agreed those things would help, but Jake had never had to make split-second decisions when criminals had weapons that could kill thousands of people. Then came Ryan Cooper's turn. He walked to the front of the class with his laptop and a big smile. His presentation was called "Why Military Solutions Fail: A Better Way to Handle the Alien War." Lisa felt her stomach tighten. She gripped her pen and tried to stay calm. Ryan clicked to his first slide. It showed a picture of a destroyed building. "War only creates more violence," he said. "Every bomb we drop, every alien ship we destroy, just makes them angrier. We're stuck in a cycle that will never end." He clicked to the next slide. It had numbers about how much money the military spent on weapons. "Look at all this waste," Ryan said. "We could build schools and hospitals instead. We could use this money to help people instead of hurt them." Some students nodded. A few wrote notes. Professor Ford smiled and looked interested. Ryan continued, "The real problem is that our leaders don't want peace. They like having enemies because it makes them feel powerful. They send young people to die for no good reason." Lisa's hand started shaking. She thought about Lieutenant Danny Walsh, who was 19 when he volunteered for a suicide mission to save a civilian transport. She thought about Captain Maria Santos, who stayed behind on her damaged ship to buy time for others to escape. "These so-called war heroes," Ryan said, clicking to another slide, "are just people who bought into the lie that violence solves problems. They're not heroes. They're victims of a system that teaches them to kill instead of think." The slide showed a cartoon of a soldier with a big gun and a small brain. Some students laughed. Lisa felt something hot and angry rise up in her chest. Her vision got blurry around the edges. She tried to breathe slowly and count to 10 like her counselor had taught her. Ryan was still talking. "If we just stopped fighting and tried to communicate, I bet we could solve this whole problem. Maybe the aliens aren't even bad. Maybe they're just scared of us. Maybe they're fighting because they think we're going to hurt them." More students nodded. Someone said, "That makes sense." "The truth is," Ryan said, getting excited, "anyone who supports this war is either stupid or evil. Anyone who thinks military force is the answer is part of the problem. These military people are just trained killers who can't think of better solutions." Lisa stood up. Her chair made a loud scraping sound on the floor. Every head in the room turned to look at her. "You want to know about better solutions?" Lisa said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone could hear her clearly. "Lisa, please wait until after the presentation," Professor Ford said. But Lisa was not waiting anymore. 6 months of staying quiet and pretending and listening to ignorant opinions had reached their limit. "The aliens gave us their better solution," Lisa said, walking toward the front of the room. "Surrender completely, or they will kill every human being alive. That was their peace offer." Ryan looked confused. "That's just government propaganda. You can't believe everything they tell us." Lisa stopped right in front of him. "We tried talking to them for 8 months. We sent diplomats and scientists and peace negotiators. Do you know what happened to them?" The room was completely silent now. Professor Ford looked worried. "They sent back videos," Lisa continued. "Videos of our people being tortured and killed. They sent back body parts with messages carved into them. The messages said, 'Submit or join them.'" Ryan's face was getting red. "That's not true. The government is lying to make us support the war." "You think the government is lying?" Lisa asked. "You want to know about military solutions failing? Let me tell you about the colony at New Geneva." She turned to face the whole class. Most of them looked scared now. Lisa realized she was shouting, but she could not stop. New Geneva had 500,000 people. Families, children, artists, teachers, people just like you. When the aliens came, the colonists tried your peaceful solution. They sent messages saying they wanted to negotiate. They offered to share their planet. Lisa's hands were shaking now. The aliens responded by dropping bombs that turned the entire planet's surface into glass. 500,000 people dead in 2 hours. The only reason we know what happened is because one ship escaped to tell us. Professor Ford stood up. "Lisa, maybe you should sit down." "No," Lisa said. "He wants to know about military solutions." Military solutions are the only reason everyone in this room is still breathing. Right now, while you're sitting here complaining about defense spending, there are 20-year-old pilots fighting alien battle fleets near Saturn. She pointed at Ryan. "You want to know about heroes?" Captain Tony Martinez flew his damaged fighter. into an alien battleship because it was the only way to stop them from reaching Earth. He was 23 years old and had a baby daughter he never got to see grow up. Ryan tried to interrupt, but Lisa kept talking. Lieutenant Sarah Kim held her position on a space station for 6 hours while civilians evacuated. She knew she was going to die. The aliens don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They don't accept surrender. They kill everything human they find. The whole class stared at her. Some students looked frightened. Others looked angry. Katie, who had come to watch Lisa's presentation, looked like she was about to cry. "You think we like fighting?" Lisa asked, her voice getting louder. "You think we enjoy watching our friends die?" Every single person who joins the military knows they might not come home. We do it anyway because someone has to stand between the monsters and the people we love. She looked around the room at all the young faces. You get to sit here and debate philosophy because better people than you are dying in space right now. You get to believe in peace and love because warriors are out there dealing with reality. Professor Ford was trying to say something, but Lisa was not finished. So next time you want to call military people stupid or evil, remember that they're the reason you're alive to have that opinion. And maybe, just maybe, try to understand that some problems can't be solved by holding hands and singing songs. Lisa grabbed her backpack and walked toward the door. The room was completely silent except for her footsteps. As she reached the door, she turned back one more time. "By the way, Ryan, I know all this because I was there." Captain Lisa Morgan. 3 Deep Space Combat Commands, Medal of Valor. Your peaceful aliens killed most of my friends. She walked out and let the door slam behind her. Behind her, she could hear the explosion of voices as everyone started talking at once. But Lisa was already walking across campus, feeling like she had just burned down every bridge she had built in the past 6 months. Within an hour, everyone on campus knew about Lisa's outburst. Students whispered about it in the hallways. Some posted about it on social media. Others sent text messages to friends who were not in the class. Lisa sat alone in her dorm room, staring out the window. She had packed her bag 3 times, ready to leave college and go back to active duty. But each time, she unpacked it again. Running away would not solve anything. Katie came back from her art class looking worried and confused. She had heard different versions of the story from different people. Some said Lisa had a mental breakdown. Others said she was a secret government spy. "Is it true?" Katie asked quietly. "Were you really in the war?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, for 6 years." Katie sat on her own bed and hugged her stuffed elephant. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to be normal," Lisa said. "I wanted to pretend I was just a regular student like everyone else." "But you saved people," Katie said. "You're a hero." Lisa shook her head. "Heroes are people who die for others. I'm just someone who lived when better people didn't." The next few days were strange. Some students avoided Lisa completely. They crossed the street when they saw her coming. They stopped talking when she entered a room. These students seemed afraid of her, like she might suddenly become violent. But other students reacted differently. They approached her with questions. Not about battles and weapons, but about harder things. They wanted to know what it felt like to make life and death decisions. They asked how she dealt with losing friends. They wondered if she ever felt scared. Jake Miller found her in the library on Thursday evening. He sat down across from her table and looked nervous. "I've been thinking about what you said," he began. "About those people who died protecting us. I never really thought about it being real before." Lisa looked up from her engineering textbook. "It's real." "How do you handle it?" Jake asked. "Knowing that people died for us. Doesn't it make you angry that we were complaining about things that don't really matter?" Lisa thought about that question. Everyone handles it differently. Some people get angry. Some people get sad. Some people just try to forget. "What about you?" "I try to make it worth something," Lisa said. If good people died to protect this place, then I want to make sure this place is worth protecting. Jake nodded slowly. That's why you came back to school. To learn things that might help end the war. Maybe, Lisa said. Or maybe I just wanted to remember what normal feels like. Professor Ford approached Lisa after class the following week. She looked embarrassed and uncertain. I owe you an apology, Professor Ford said. I should have done more research about the war before I assigned that project. I didn't realize how much classified information there was. You're not supposed to know, Lisa said. That's the point of classified. Still, I let my students speak ignorantly about something they didn't understand. That wasn't fair to you or to them. Professor Ford paused, then asked, would you be willing to talk to the class? Not about classified things, but about what it's like to serve. I think they need to hear from someone who was actually there. Lisa thought about it. Some of them hate me now. Some of them understand you now. Professor Ford corrected. There's a difference. Ryan Cooper was one of the students who seemed to understand. He found Lisa after her space engineering class and asked to talk privately. I want to apologize, he said. Not for believing in peace, but for calling you stupid and evil. I was talking about things I knew nothing about. Lisa studied his face. He looked sincere, not just guilty. I still think there has to be better ways to solve problems, Ryan continued. But I understand now that you were dealing with a real situation while I was dealing with ideas. Ideas are important too, Lisa said. Someone has to believe that. Things can get better. Otherwise, what are we fighting for? Ryan smiled a little. Can I ask you something? Do you think the war will ever end? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. All wars end eventually. The question is how they end and what's left afterwards. What do you mean? Some wars end when one side destroys the other completely. Some end when both sides get too tired to keep fighting. The best wars end when both sides find something they want more than they want to hurt each other. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. What do you think the aliens want more than hurting us? I don't know, Lisa admitted. That's one of the things I came here to figure out. Slowly, Lisa began to find her place in the college community. She formed study groups with students who genuinely wanted to understand both the technical and human sides of the conflict. She taught them about real space navigation, energy management, and defensive systems. In return, they taught her about art, literature, and philosophy. She learned that Katie was much smarter than she seemed. Behind her collection of stuffed animals and cheerful attitude, Katie had a sharp mind for strategy and problem-solving. She helped Lisa think through complex ethical questions about warfare and peace. Amy Rodriguez became interested in the logistics of space warfare. She wanted to understand how to get supplies to troops who were fighting light years from Earth. Her questions helped Lisa realize that many military problems were really engineering problems in disguise. Even some of the students who had been afraid of Lisa eventually came around. They started to see her not as a dangerous warrior, but as someone who had done difficult things so they could live safely. Lisa's grades remained perfect, but now she was also making real friendships. She went to Katie's art shows and Jake's intramural soccer games. She helped Amy with her charity fundraiser and listened to Ryan's ideas about post-war reconstruction. In her final semester, Lisa was asked to present her senior thesis to a panel of professors and military advisors. Her project was called Integrated Defense Systems for Civilian Protection. It combined advanced engineering with tactical knowledge and ethical considerations. The presentation room was packed. Students, professors, and even some military officers attended. Lisa had prepared for months, creating a comprehensive plan for protecting civilian populations without relying purely on offensive weapons. The key insight, Lisa explained to the audience, is that defense and offense serve different purposes. Offensive weapons are meant to destroy enemies. Defensive Systems are meant to protect what we value. She showed diagrams of shield systems, evacuation protocols, and communication networks. She explained how civilian populations could be better protected during military conflicts. But the most important defense, Lisa concluded, is understanding. We need to understand what we're protecting and why it's worth protecting. We also need to understand our enemies well enough to find alternatives to endless warfare. The presentation was a success. Several professors offered her positions in graduate programs. Military advisors wanted to discuss implementing her ideas in active defense systems. But the moment that mattered most to Lisa came after the formal presentation ended. Katie, Jake, Amy, Ryan, and several other students approached her. "We want to keep working on this," Katie said. "Even after you graduate and go back to active duty. You've shown us that we can contribute to ending this war," Jake added. "Not by pretending it doesn't exist, but by understanding it and working to solve." Lisa looked around at these young faces. 6 months ago, they had seemed naive and ignorant. Now she saw them as they really were, intelligent, caring people who wanted to make the world better. They just needed someone to show them how their idealism could connect with reality. "What do you want to do?" Lisa asked. "Research," Amy said. "We want to study everything about this conflict. History, technology, alien psychology, economic impacts, social effects. We want to become experts." "And then?" Lisa asked. "Then we want to help you solve it," Ryan said. "All of us working together. Military people who understand the reality of conflict, and civilian people who understand what's worth fighting for." Lisa smiled for the first time in months. That sounds like a good plan. As her college graduation approached, Lisa received orders for her next assignment. She would be returning to active duty, but not as a combat officer. She was being assigned to a new joint military-civilian research program, focused on ending the war through comprehensive solutions. Her first task would be to recruit and train civilian consultants who could work with military personnel to develop new approaches to the conflict. She already knew exactly who she wanted to recruit. On graduation day, Lisa walked across the stage to receive her diploma. In the audience, she saw Katie cheering loudly and holding a sign that said, "Our Hero." She saw Jake and Amy and Ryan and all the other students who had become her friends. She also saw several military officers, including Commander Helen Price, who had come to congratulate her on completing her mission. "How do you feel, Captain?" Commander Price asked after the ceremony. Lisa looked around at the campus, where she had spent the most difficult and rewarding year of her life. "Like I finally understand what we're fighting for." "And what's that?" Lisa pointed to her friends, who were planning to continue their research and work toward peace. "The right to believe that things can get better. The right to dream of something worth protecting." Commander Price smiled. "That's a good thing to fight for." As Lisa prepared to return to the stars, she carried with her more than military training and combat experience.